Hi there. In this video I want to take a look at the Polybuild tool. This will be a slightly longer video because the Polybuild tool is well, it's quite it has quite few features, or it's kind of like its own mode within edit mode, and it works very well together with some other tools in Blender. So I want to show you how it can work together with those other features or other tools. It's mostly used for retopology. That is the process of taking a mesh like this Suzanne here that we're gonna use an example. And let's imagine that this geometry that Suzanne is made up of is just not working for us. It's super dense, it has like millions of polygons, and there are a lot of triangles, and the mesh is a total mess. Maybe we did this from a photo scan, or we sculpted this ourselves, and it's a lot of triangles, and it's just not workable right now. And in that case, we can need to do some retopology. We have the shape that we want, but we don't have the geometry that we need to maybe transform it or animate it correctly, or to make a proper UV map and to texture this object. So we're gonna retopology is basically the process of taking a non-workable mesh to make it into a sensible mesh to work with, making it easier to work with, and also increase performance. So let's now get into the Polybuild tool. I'm gonna add a plane here, which is gonna be the object that we're gonna create into a Suzanne monkey here, a retopologized Suzanne. So I'm gonna bring that in. I'm actually already on the Polybuild tool here. I'm gonna go to the Control R, add a loop cut here. I'm gonna start to mirror this so that we don't have to create both sides, since this object is mirrored. So I'm just mirroring this with a mirror modifier here across the x-axis, or along the x-axis. So when the x-axis is this way, we can have the x-axis there to mirror from across there. So let's enable clipping, just minimize this modifier. We tab into edit mode, we have something like this. Now the Polybuild tool works together with other features in Blender. So we're going to work with the Polybuild tool together with snapping, X-ray view, and auto merge. So let's begin with auto merge. It's available here in this active tools panel when we are in this stage here, or in edit mode here. We got auto merge right here. We have a threshold here, and this decides how far the maximum or minimum, or rather the maximum distance one vertex can be from another before the one that we move into the influence of the other, or the sphere of the other, will merge into it. So we're going to increase this quite a bit. In this case, I'm going to go with something like 0.05. That will correspond to 5 centimeters, and I think this monkey is about 2 meters or so in size here, just across. So 5 centimeters could be a good number to start with. Might need to increase or decrease this if vertices are merging left and right, but that's going to be our starting value. You're going to see how that works. The next tool I want to enable is the snapping tool here. I want to set it to face, and I want to set it to project individual elements. And that means that if we have let's say 3 or 4 vertices selected that we want to snap to the surface of Suzanne, they will snap individually instead of just having one major element that snaps and the other one is just keep their position in relation to that snapping point, if that makes sense. Right, and the last one I want to select is X-ray right here, so that our object becomes see-through, also select through, which will become a problem later on. But right now, this enables us to see both objects much clearer. So it's just a preference, really, because when we do retopology, this object that we retopologize, sometimes it will go slightly below and sometimes slightly above the surface here. So in order to always see kind of both, we just go into X-ray mode up here. So snapping, auto merge, and X-ray. And now I just want to grab this and put it right there so that it snaps automatically. I'm just gonna grab those and make this a little bit more square before we start using the polybuild tool. Right, so right now I'm gonna select the polybuild tool. You will see that we get this kind of feedback here. So if I just click and drag, I'll drag out a new face. So I can just continue like this. I can also just select a vertex here, and then I will just move or massage this vertex into place. You can see that it snaps to the surface by individual elements. So this vertex snaps just as well as this one, even if we drag out 2 vertices. If we didn't have this project individual elements, one of them could potentially snap, and the other one would hang in mid-air. So we don't want that. So we want that individual elements. Now let's say that we get a situation like this, and now we want to create a face right here. Then we can just drop that there, and it will auto merge like this. And the threshold is set quite high, so it will easily snap while not snapping to other neighboring vertices. So now I really just need to use the mouse, and I don't need to hold control or anything. I can just continue like this. Oh, there you see the snapping was a bit too close there, so I'm just gonna Control Z that and see if we can create that again. Nope. In that case, I might want to bring this down to like 0.4 perhaps. That could be enough. We'll just Control Z that. Try it again, and that worked pretty well. Right, so I think this is the simplest way to use the tool. So now I can just sit with one hand really and just drag out these. I don't have to hold control for the snapping or anything. I can just drag like this. Right, so Control and Shift will enable other functions of this tool other than the move vertex and extrude face. There's holding Shift and clicking a face will delete that face, or if you have a corner you will delete so that it becomes a triangle. If you hold Control, you will create a quad from a triangle, and you can drag out. You can see that the feedback becomes different, so you can just drag out a triangle like that and then another one there. We can keep triangles by just disabling this create quads. So in that case I can hold Control, drag this out, and then hold Control. You can see that that keeps the triangle there. But I want to have quads, so I'll stick to that. We can just merge like that. That didn't merge there, so I'll just click those and they will merge together. This holding Control really synergizes well with snapping here. I should actually turn this off when holding Control and doing it this way instead, because then I will just hold Control almost all the time. If I need to move these around, I will have to hold Control while hovering or moving and release it while selecting, or I will not get in this vertex mode, or I can't select this one when holding Control, so I'll have to release it and then hold it, release it and hold it. Right. The good thing about this way, instead of just having snapping turned on, is that holding Control enables snapping. So whenever I create something like this, it just snaps. So I can just continue doing like this, and I can drag out quads like here while holding Control. And then it synergizes well with just pressing Z to remove if I need to do that. So I can just keep on holding Control. I just hold Shift instead to remove. So I would suggest that to either have snapping off and hold control for most of the time, and then if you need to adjust a few vertices, you release it and press it, release it and press it. The other way is to have snapping turned on and work with the edges like this. So those are 2 ways I would suggest that you work with this tool. Personally, I mostly use just snapping turn on like this with face and project individuals, and then auto merge on a pretty high threshold there, so that we get this thing going. Then at some point you will come across something like this, when you all of a sudden, thanks to this X-ray, start to select on the other side here. When that starts to happen, just press B and box and then H to hide that, and then you can continue to can I create one here perhaps? That's interesting. Let's enable the center there, just enable that for a while. Alright, well, solve it by doing a kind of a loop around there. And then we can just continue from here. We don't have that problem with viewing the mesh on the other side. When we want to bring it back, just Alt and H, and you can bring that back there. And I accidentally hid a bit too much there and then created duplicate geometry. Just be aware of that so that you don't accidentally do that. Just delete this part perhaps, and or rather hide that part, and that would be enough in this case, so we keep seeing these edges around here. Alright, so just Control Shift and then you get the feedback and you drag around. So that is the Polybuild tool. You can kind of see that we are, if we go into let's see if I can select the correct mesh here. You can see that we're starting to get some kind of retopology going here. Probably not the best you've seen in the world, but still it's retopology. Alright, I hope it was helpful and thank you for viewing. Bye.